Morning. God bless you. This is Thomas William Gardner, and I wanted to share this story with you today. Some of my thoughts. Many of us wonder, how am I going to get through the day today? Is the Lord with me? Is He close with me? Is He where place that I can talk to Him and He'll talk back to me? And how do I do that? We all have thoughts like that, don't we? And we try to deal with it. Well, this is how my life has worked, and this is what I have gone through. And this is a story that I wanted to share with you, because what I thought I wanted, and I went to the Lord about, was I wanted to run my own store. I wanted to run a store that I was the store manager of, and 200,000 square foot store. And I'd been in retail for a while, and I thought if I just pushed hard enough, I'd get it. Well, I got sent to Bentonville, Arkansas, to the Walton Institute. And there I would take classes, and they were going to teach us how to be excellent store managers. And it was very good, and I did very well there, and I enjoyed it, and I learned the system and how to work the system and how to get good grades and everything. And I was there for about 30 days, I suppose. And it was exciting, and they told me I was doing real well. I said one of the second best they said they'd ever seen. And I thought, well, that's pretty great. That's pretty exciting. And we're going to send you over to New England area, and you're going to teach Walmart culture. And I thought, boy, that sounds pretty exciting. Then when you're done with that and you want a store, you let us know, and we'll get you a store. But we need you over there, because we're going to open up a whole area over there. Now, this was quite a few years ago. I suppose about 30 years ago. Well, early before that, I had just about died, and I had been in the hospital, and that was the previous episode to this, and I talked about how the Lord had saved me and how I had changed. I had changed in what was important to me. So this is the place where I got ahead, and I went to Bentonville, Arkansas, and they sent me out to New England. I ended up in Salem, New Hampshire. And I'm out there teaching, and we got some of our classes that were teaching the Walmart culture. People wanted jobs, and so they were coming, and we had this great big gymnasium all set up. And sometimes I'd have 40 people that I taught, and then sometimes I'd have 60 and 80 and 100 and sometimes 140 people. And they were hiring for the area, and they had to come through me and learn how to be a manager or assistant manager or a training manager or a department head or how to work in a store or what was expected. And I was a teacher, and I was teaching everything. I was teaching everything about the computers and everything. And I was really enjoying it, and I was really having a good time. And I'd start the classes out, and I'd joke around with everybody. And it was just going so much better than I could have planned. In fact, I had more fun doing that than I did having my own store. I can tell you that. And it was a grind having your own store, because you just lived there all the time. Well, the Lord was going to intervene in the whole thing. He really, what I wanted and what He wanted for me were two different things. And I was about to find that out, because I had asked Him for a store, and I was going to get my store, and everything was looking fine. And I was willing to move from Lima, Ohio, out to the East Coast, New Hampshire, Boston area, and right around there. So as I'm out there teaching, this one particular class was going real well, and some of the classes recently were, at the end of the class, they'd stand up and clap their hands. And of course, there was a lot of joking going on, and it was hitting a chord with them, and I was having just a really great time. And everybody was real happy with what I was doing. And at the end of this one class, they stood up and they clapped, and I smiled and everything, and I went back down to my desk, and I sat there and I started working on something, because there's going to be another group of people coming in, and this group was going out, and this was quite a large group. And I had 4 people come up to the desk, and they were standing right behind each other, in single file. And this one big guy's about 6'5". He's standing over the desk, and I'm looking up at him, and he said, "I want to give my heart and I want to give my soul to Walmart." And he tosses his badge that he has here down on the desk. And he said, "This symbolizes that I'm turning my life over to Walmart." And tears were coming down out of his eyes. And he was shaking. And I looked at him, I was puzzled. And the lady behind him, young lady behind him, with long hair, says, "I do too." And she tossed her name badge down. And then the third person tossed their name badge down. And then the fourth person, and said, "We want to turn our lives over to Walmart." And I said, "You guys are taking this way too serious." I said, this is Walmart culture. Well, this is how we feel. And they're shaking. And the first two are crying and the other two are about ready to break down. And I said, "Oh, well, okay. I got to leave the room. Okay, I got to leave the room." And I got up and I said, "You guys go on to your other classes, please." And I go out of the auditorium and I go to the hallway, and I look up at the sky, and I said, "Lord, they want to turn their lives over to Walmart." I said, "Turn their lives over." I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Lord, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm just sorry. I came here to teach and to have a good time and to share and to make money. And now I've got people here that want to turn their lives over to Walmart instead of turn their lives over to you." And I said, "I feel like I've violated you. And I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry." And I went on with the day, and I'm driving down the road in New England, and it's like a 6-lane highway I'm going down, and there's beautiful scenery. If you've ever been around that part of the country, it's beautiful. I mean, beautiful scenery, but it's the dead of winter. It's January, and there's evergreen trees everywhere and other trees with no leaves on them, but still, it's still beautiful because there's slopey hills and everything, and there's snow, and it's just beautiful, I think. And this big Chrysler pulls up alongside me, and my store manager that's going to be over me, that he's going to take over a very large store, and I was supposed to be his first assistant, and then I'd get my own store. Well, he waves me over like this. And so I pull the car over to the side, and I guess that's what he wanted. He jumps out of his car, and he runs up to the car. Now, there's a highway here. This is no place to pull over. And he's standing out there in the cold, and he signals for me to put my window down. And I'm thinking, this guy's lost his mind, And he put the window down, and he says, "Wow, did you see that? Did you see that?" He says, "They want to turn their lives over to the company. They want to turn their lives over to the company. I never saw anything like that before in my life. They want to turn their lives over to the company." He said, "Man, that was great. That was great. I couldn't believe it." He said, "That was great." And I didn't know that he saw it. And I said, yeah. He says, "Man, that was good job, buddy. That was a good job, man." So I'll never forget that. He says, "Turn their lives over to Walmart. Can you believe it?" I go, "Yeah, that was something, wasn't it? That was something." And I went back to the apartment, and we had a nice apartment. It was right off a golf course, actually. And it was it had a spa, to go to and everything. And I had moved ahead and got a big raise, and everything was looking pretty good, but I felt bad. I felt like I did something wrong, and I didn't know really what I did wrong. I was feeling the call, that that God wanted me to do something for him. And he had just straightened me out in my priorities, but he wanted me to do something for him. Now, it wasn't long after that, the Lord came to me and talked to me about preaching. And that's another story. But this was strange, you know. And I walked into the apartment, and my daughter wasn't there, and my wife wasn't there. And the apartment felt small, and I sat down on the couch, and I looked out the window. You know, we were up, there's a balcony and everything. And I looked outside of the golf course, and I sat down, and I thought, wow, I feel like the whole apartment's closing in on me. I feel like the whole apartment's just getting smaller right in front of me. I got to get up and get a drink of water or something. Or I feel, and I apologized, and I started not knowing what to do with myself and moving around, and the tears were coming down out of my eyes, and I felt like I'd done something wrong, you know, to the Lord. And it was at that moment, and I told the Lord, I said, I'm going to change. I got my priorities right. If you want me to preach, if this is what you want, I'm willing to do that. I don't know how to do it, but I'm willing to do that. But you got to tell me. You got to tell me. I saw it, and I understand what happened today was a good thing in some ways, but it didn't feel good at all. I felt like I was wrong. So you've got to let me know. You got to tell me, because I don't feel good enough to be a preacher. I feel like I'm good enough to sit in a seat and help, but you have to help me out with this, Lord. Well, I said, Lord, if you still want me to do this when we leave this place and we go to the next job, what I'll do is I'll call Church of God, and I'll call the college, and I'll talk to them and ask them what I need to do to become a preacher. But I need to hear from you first. Well, I go home for a little bit, and I get a phone call, and person's talking to me, and I'm not really listening to them, and I keep thinking about the Lord and I, you know, and all of a sudden I'm walking around the house, and I'm in a daze, and the Lord says, I want you to preach my word. And I said, what? I want you to preach my word. And I said, I don't know if this is really the Lord or not, or is this me, you know? And I can't sleep. 3 days. 3 days. I can't sleep. And I'm walking around, and I said, Lord, I'm sorry. I said, I'm so sorry. I thought that you wanted me to preach, and I said, this is probably my imagination, and I apologize to you that I thought that you wanted me to preach, and I'm sorry that I acted like this. I said, this must be my imagination. And I had another event that took place, and I said, Lord, I'll preach. I'll whatever it is. And it had to do with another event in my life that wasn't all that stunning or great, but it was really clear that I was supposed to preach. And I called up the Church of God, and the person answered the phone, and I told them that I wanted to preach and I needed to take classes for it. And they laughed at me. And they laughed at me. And I said, this is the devil. I called back up, and I talked to somebody that really cared, and they told me to go to New Albany, Church of God, and there would be a preacher that would help me. And then his father-in-law, who was a preacher, helped me a lot. And they guided me through. And they showed me how to do it, when to do it, and what to do. And here I am today, and that's been over 20 years. So I came late, but for the Lord, I think I came right on time. And I can't say that it was supernatural, but it wasn't natural. It was deeply spiritual. And the Lord's been working with me. And I wanted to share this story because sometimes what we want is what we want and not what the Lord wants. But when we want what the Lord wants, well, those are my thoughts for the day. May God bless you.